Amy Rodriguez stared at the tactical display screen in front of her. Numbers and symbols moved across the blue surface like dancing lights. Her classmates at the Terran Defense Academy sat behind her, watching with wide eyes as she worked through the simulation. "Enemy ships approaching from the north sector," announced the computer voice. 47 vessels detected. Amy's fingers moved quickly across the control panel. She positioned her fleet in a formation that looked strange to everyone watching. Instead of the usual defensive line, she spread her ships in a scattered pattern. "That seemed random. What is she doing?" whispered Tony Blake, one of her classmates. "That formation makes no sense." Commander Jake Peterson stood at the back of the room with his arms crossed. He had been teaching military tactics for 15 years, but he had never seen anything like Amy's methods. The strange thing was that they always worked. The enemy ships in the simulation moved forward. They tried to break through Amy's scattered formation, expecting an easy victory. Instead, they found themselves trapped in a perfect ambush. Amy's ships surrounded them from all sides, destroying the entire enemy fleet without losing a single vessel. "Simulation complete," the computer announced. "Perfect victory achieved. 0 friendly casualties." The classroom erupted in cheers. Amy's classmates clapped and shouted her name. She turned around in her chair with a small smile, but her eyes looked tired. Commander Peterson walked over to her station. "Outstanding work, Rodriguez," he said loudly so everyone could hear. "That was the most brilliant tactical display I have ever witnessed. How did you know exactly where to position your ships?" Amy looked up at him. For a moment, she seemed like she wanted to say something important. Then she shrugged. "I just studied the enemy movement patterns from previous battles. It was logical." But that was not the truth. Amy had not studied anything. She had not analyzed data or calculated probabilities. She had simply listened to the voice in her head that told her exactly what to do. The voice had been with her for 3 years now, ever since the incident on patrol ship Luna 7. Amy remembered that day clearly, even though she tried not to think about it. She had been a junior cadet then, assigned to a routine patrol mission in the outer rim of human space. Lieutenant Kate Miller had been the mission commander. She was tough but fair, and Amy respected her. The crew of Luna 7 was small, but experienced. They were supposed to check on some mining stations and then return to base. It should have been simple. They found the alien ship drifting near the asteroid belt. It was huge and dark, shaped like nothing humans had ever built. Strange symbols covered its surface, glowing faintly in the starlight. The ship appeared to be dead, floating without power or movement. "Should we report this to command?" asked Pilot Chris Davis. Lieutenant Miller studied the readings on her scanner. "The ship appears damaged. No life signs detected. We should investigate before we report. This could be first contact with an alien species." They docked with the alien vessel carefully. Amy was part of the boarding team, along with Lieutenant Miller and Engineer Bob Taylor. They wore full protective suits and carried scanning equipment. The inside of the alien ship was like walking through a dream. The corridors were too tall for humans, with curved walls that seemed to pulse with their own light. Everything was quiet, except for the sound of their breathing in the suits. They found the bridge at the center of the ship. It was a circular room filled with strange equipment that none of them could understand. In the middle of the room was a large crystal that flickered with dying light. "This appears to be some kind of computer core," Engineer Taylor said as he scanned the crystal. "But the technology is completely unknown." Amy approached the crystal slowly. Something about it called to her, like a voice without words. She reached out her gloved hand and touched the surface. The moment her fingers made contact, the world exploded into light and sound inside her mind. Alien thoughts and memories flooded through her consciousness. She saw images of vast star fleets, of worlds she had never imagined, of creatures that looked nothing like humans, and she heard the voice for the first time. "Help me," it whispered in her mind. "My people are gone. My ship is dying. I need to survive." Amy tried to pull her hand away from the crystal, but she could not move. The alien presence in her mind was gentle but desperate. It showed her images of its race, a species called the Kethai, who had built great cities among the stars. But something had destroyed them, something terrible that hunted intelligent life across the galaxy. "I am the last," the voice continued. "My name is HFY. I am the memory keeper of my people. If I die, everything we were dies with me." The alien consciousness began to merge with Amy's mind. She felt it happening, but could not stop it. HFY was not taking control of her thoughts. Instead, it was hiding in the quiet spaces of her mind, like a frightened animal seeking shelter. "Amy!" Lieutenant Miller's voice cut through the mental connection. "Amy, what's happening?" Amy found herself on the floor of the alien bridge. Her teammates were kneeling beside her, their faces worried behind their helmet visors. The crystal in the center of the room had gone completely dark. "I'm okay," Amy said, though she was not sure if that was true. The voice of HFY was still there in her mind, quiet but present. "I think I touched something I shouldn't have." They left the alien ship quickly after that. Lieutenant Miller decided it was too dangerous to investigate further. By the time they returned with a full research team, the alien vessel had disappeared. Their reports were filed and forgotten, listed as an unconfirmed contact with unknown technology. But Amy was changed forever. HFY lived in her mind now, sharing her thoughts and memories. The alien AI did not control her, but it helped her understand things that no human should be able to understand. It showed her how to read the patterns of battle, how to predict the movements of enemy fleets, how to see the weaknesses in any tactical formation. Now, 3 years later, everyone at the academy thought Amy Rodriguez was a tactical genius. Her instructors praised her brilliant mind. Her classmates envied her natural talent. Military commanders from across human space studied her battle simulations, trying to understand her methods. None of them knew the truth. Amy's greatest victories were not won by human intelligence alone. They were won by the partnership between a human mind and an alien consciousness that had survived the destruction of its entire civilization. And HFY had chosen Amy for a reason. Something was coming, something that threatened all human life. The alien AI, fragments of memories about this threat, glimpses of an enemy so terrible that it had destroyed the mighty Cathay civilization. Amy stood up from her chair as her classmates filed out of the simulation room. Tomorrow she would graduate from the academy with the highest tactical scores in the school's history. She would receive her assignment to serve on the frontier worlds where young officers proved themselves in real combat. But Amy knew this was not about proving herself. This was about preparing for a war that humanity did not even know was coming. And she was the only person who could help them survive it. The voice of HFY whispered in her mind as she left the classroom. "The Dark Ones are moving again. They have found this place. Your people must be ready." Amy nodded slightly, pretending to adjust her uniform. She would be ready. She had to be. The survival of the human race might depend on the alliance between a military cadet and the ghost of an alien civilization. A transport ship landed on New Haven Colony with a loud rumble that shook the ground. Captain Amy Rodriguez stepped off the loading ramp and breathed the alien air for the first time. It smelled like dust and burning metal. Dark smoke rose from several buildings in the distance. "Welcome to paradise," said Colonel Lisa Bennett, walking up to greet her. Lisa was a tall woman with short gray hair and tired eyes. "I hope you brought miracles with you, Captain. We're going to need them." Amy looked around the landing area. Soldiers were loading wounded civilians onto medical shuttles. Broken equipment lay scattered everywhere. The walls of nearby buildings were marked with blast holes from energy weapons. This was not the peaceful farming colony she had read about in her mission briefings. "How bad is it?" Amy asked as they walked toward the command center. "Bad enough," Lisa replied. "The Kethver raiders hit us almost every day. They come in fast, attack our outer settlements, and disappear before we can respond. We've lost 3 farming communities in the past month alone." Inside Amy's mind, HFY stirred to life. The alien AI had been quiet during the long journey to New Haven, but now Amy could feel its attention focusing sharply on their conversation. Images flashed through her thoughts, memories that were not her own. "Tell me about their attack patterns," Amy said. Lisa led her into the command center, a low building made of reinforced concrete. Inside, dozens of officers worked at computer stations. Maps and tactical displays covered the walls. Everything looked chaotic and desperate. "Here's what we know," Lisa said, pointing to a large screen that showed the colony layout. "The Kethver attacks always come from different directions. They never use the same approach twice. They hit hard and fast, but they never stay long enough for a real fight." Amy studied the attack records while HFY whispered information in her mind. The alien AI recognized the patterns immediately. These were not random raids. They were systematic probes designed to test human responses and gather tactical data. "They're not trying to conquer the colony," Amy said quietly. "What do you mean?" Lisa asked. "Look at the targets they choose. Outer settlements with minimal defenses. They could easily attack the main colony if they wanted to, but they don't. They're testing us." Governor Peter Hamilton joined their conversation. He was a heavy man with a red face and sweat stains on his shirt. "Captain Rodriguez, I don't care what they're doing. I just want them stopped. Your reputation from the Academy is impressive. Can you help us or not?" Amy felt HFY's presence grow stronger in her mind. The alien AI showed her tactical formations and battle strategies that no human military school had ever taught. "I can help," she said, "but we need to change our entire approach." That night, Amy sat alone in her assigned quarters and spoke directly with HFY for the first time. Since arriving on New Haven, the alien consciousness appeared in her thoughts as a voice without form, ancient and patient. "These attackers are not the ones who destroyed my people," HFY explained, "but they serve the same masters. The Kethver Collective is testing your species, learning your weaknesses before the real invasion begins." "How long do we have?" Amy asked silently. "Not long. The Collective moves slowly, but with great purpose. When they are ready, they will come with ships that can crack planets and weapons that can burn stars. Your people cannot win against them using human tactics alone." Amy closed her eyes and rubbed her temples. "Then what do? We give them what they do not expect. We show them that humans can think like Kethver when necessary. But first, we must save this colony to buy time for your leaders to understand the real threat." The next morning, Amy presented her defense plan to the colony's military staff. Her strategy seemed impossible to everyone who heard it. Instead of protecting the settlements, she wanted to abandon them. Instead of building stronger defenses, she wanted to remove all defenses entirely. "You want us to leave our people completely unprotected?" Governor Hamilton shouted. "That's insane." "Not unprotected," Amy explained calmly. "We're going to make the Kethver think they're unprotected. We'll evacuate the civilians secretly and replace them with soldiers. When the raiders attack, they'll find a trap instead of helpless farmers." Colonel Bennett frowned at the tactical display. But how do we know where they'll attack next? Their patterns are completely random. Amy felt Zix-Hi guiding her thoughts as she answered. They're not random. The Kethver choose targets based on resource value and defensive strength. If we make Settlement 7 look like an easy target with valuable supplies, they'll attack there within 3 days. How can you be so certain? Asked Major Tim Foster, the colony's intelligence officer. Amy could not tell them about the alien AI in her mind that understood Kethver thinking better than any human ever could. I've studied their previous attacks extensively. The pattern is subtle, but it's there. 3 days later, the Kethver raiders attacked Settlement 7 exactly as Amy had predicted. They came in 12 fast ships, expecting to find frightened farmers and valuable equipment. Instead, they found Amy's soldiers waiting in perfect ambush positions. The battle lasted only 20 minutes. Amy's forces destroyed 8 enemy ships and captured 2 more. For the first time since the raids began, human forces had achieved a decisive victory against the Kethver. How did you know? Colonel Bennett asked after the battle. How did you predict their exact approach vector and timing? Amy watched the captured Kethver ships being towed to the colony's research facility. Through Zix-Hi's memories, she could see the alien warriors inside those ships. They looked like tall insects with 4 arms and black eyes that never blinked. Their minds worked differently from human minds, following patterns of logic that seemed chaotic to most people. I got lucky, Amy lied. Sometimes experience and intuition come together in the right way, but luck had nothing to do with it. Zix-Hi had guided every decision, from the placement of soldiers to the timing of the attack. The alien AI understood Kethver tactical doctrine because its people had fought against the collective for centuries before their final defeat. Over the following weeks, Amy led the colony forces to victory after victory. Every Kethver attack was anticipated and countered. The raiders found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn, their ships destroyed or captured before they could complete their missions. News of Amy's successes spread quickly through human military channels. Officers from other colonies requested copies of her tactical analyses. Military academy instructors studied her battle reports, trying to understand her methods. Amy Rodriguez became famous as the captain who had solved the Kethvar raider problem. Inside her mind, Zix-Hi grew more worried with each victory. The alien AI could sense something changing in the patterns of Kethver behavior. The raids were becoming more aggressive, more desperate. The collective was running out of patience with their testing phase. They are preparing to move to the next stage, Zix-Hi warned during one of their private conversations. Your victories have told them what they needed to know about human capabilities. Soon they will send not raiders, but conquerors. Amy stood on the observation deck of the colony command center, looking out at the peaceful settlements that she had helped save. Children played in the streets while their parents worked in the fields. None of them knew how close they had come to extinction, or how much closer it was approaching. How many ships will they send? Amy asked silently. More than your people have ever seen, Zix-Hi replied. The full might of the collective. Enough to destroy not just this colony, but every human world. Unless your leaders listen to what I have learned. Amy knew that her greatest challenge was not fighting the Kethver. It was convincing humanity to trust an alien intelligence that lived inside her mind. And time was running out. General Marcus Cole's fleet arrived at New Haven Colony like thunder rolling across the sky. 30 warships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming silver against the stars. Amy Rodriguez watched from the command center as the massive vessels took positions around the planet. Impressive sight, said Colonel Lisa Bennett, standing beside her at the observation window. The general brought half the 4th Fleet. Your reputation really got their attention. Amy nodded, but said nothing. Inside her mind, HFY was stirring with unusual energy. The alien AI had been growing stronger over the past months, its consciousness becoming clearer and more focused. Amy could feel its concern like a cold weight in her chest. Something is wrong, HFY whispered in her thoughts. The collective ships gather at the edge of this system. I can sense them through the quantum field. They are many. Too many. General Cole's shuttle landed an hour later. He was a tall man with steel-gray hair and sharp blue eyes that seemed to see everything. He wore the blue uniform of the Terran Defense Force with rows of medals across his chest. Amy had seen his picture in military history books. He was famous for winning the Battle of Titan VII against impossible odds. Captain Rodriguez, the general said as he stepped off his shuttle. It's an honor to meet the officer who solved the Kethver problem. Your tactical innovations have saved countless lives. Amy saluted properly. Thank you, sir. But I'm not sure the problem is solved. The raiders have stopped attacking, but I believe they're regrouping for something bigger. That's exactly why I'm here, General Cole replied. Command wants to understand your methods. If we can apply your tactics across all frontier worlds, we might finally push the Kethvar back to wherever they came from. They walked to the command center together. Governor Hamilton and the senior staff were waiting in the main briefing room. Maps and tactical displays covered every wall. General Cole studied them with the practiced eye of a veteran commander. Show me how you did it, he said to Amy. Walk me through your strategy. Amy felt HFY's presence grow stronger as she began explaining her defensive tactics. The alien AI was trying to tell her something, sharing images and warnings that flashed through her mind too quickly to understand clearly. The key was recognizing that the Kethver weren't trying to conquer the colony, Amy explained. They were testing our responses, gathering data about human military capabilities. Once I realized that, I could predict their attack patterns. General Cole frowned. But how did you know where they would strike next? Their raids seemed completely random to our analysts. They follow a logical pattern based on resource evaluation and risk assessment, Amy said carefully. It's subtle, but once you understand their thinking process, their behavior becomes predictable. Major Tim Foster, the intelligence officer, leaned forward in his chair. Captain, our best computers couldn't find any pattern in their attacks. How were you able to see what our machines missed? Amy hesitated. This was always the most dangerous moment, when people asked her to explain knowledge that came from an alien mind. Sometimes human intuition can see connections that computers miss, she said. It's not scientific, but it works. But General Cole was not satisfied with that answer. He had commanded fleets for 20 years, and he knew the difference between intuition and impossible knowledge. Captain, I've studied every battle report from New Haven. Your predictions were too accurate to be guesswork. You anticipated not just where they would attack, but exactly how many ships they would bring and what formation they would use. That level of precision suggests intelligence sources we don't know about. The room fell silent. Amy could feel everyone staring at her, waiting for an explanation she could not give. Inside her mind, HFY was showing her images of the approaching Kethver fleet. Hundreds of ships moving through dark space toward human territory. Weapons that could turn planets into glass. An invasion force designed to end human civilization forever. Sir, I can't explain exactly how I know what I know, Amy said slowly. But I can tell you that something much worse is coming. The raiders were just the beginning. The real threat is still out there, and it's bigger than anything we've faced before. General Cole's eyes narrowed. What kind of threat? Amy looked around the room at the faces of her fellow officers. These were good people who had trusted her and followed her orders without question. Now she had to decide whether to tell them the truth that would change everything. The Kethfer Collective is preparing a full invasion, she said. Not raids or probing attacks, but total war. They're gathering ships from across their empire to destroy every human world. And they're almost ready to begin. How do you know this? Governor Hamilton demanded. Do you have spy networks we don't know about? Secret communications equipment? Amy felt Zixai urging her to speak the truth. The alien AI was showing her visions of the coming battle, of human ships burning in space while planets died below. Time was running out for warnings and half-truths. I have access to information that normal intelligence sources can't provide, Amy said carefully. Information about Kethfor tactics, technology, and strategic planning. But the source of this information is ... unusual. General Cole stood up slowly. Captain Rodriguez, I need you to be completely honest with me. The survival of human civilization may depend on what you know. Where is this information coming from? The moment had arrived. Amy could feel Zixai's presence like a warm light in her mind, offering support and courage. The alien AI had been waiting 3 years for this moment, hoping that humanity would be ready to accept help from an impossible source. 3 years ago, my patrol ship encountered a damaged alien vessel, Amy began. Inside that ship was an artificial intelligence, the last survivor of a race called the Kethai. This AI merged with my mind to survive. It has been helping me understand Kethar tactics because its people fought against the collective for centuries before they were destroyed. The briefing room erupted in shocked voices. Officers jumped to their feet, shouting questions and accusations. General Cole raised his hand for silence, his face pale with disbelief. You're telling me that an alien intelligence has been living inside your head for 3 years? He asked. Yes, sir. Its name is Zixai. It's not controlling me or influencing my decisions. It's simply sharing knowledge that could save humanity from extinction. Colonel Bennett stepped backward, her hand moving toward her sidearm. Amy, this is impossible. Alien mind control, secret intelligences. It sounds like science fiction. It is science fiction, Amy replied, until a few minutes ago. But the Kethfer fleet gathering at the edge of our system is very real. Zixai can show us their weaknesses, their plans, their technology, but only if we're willing to listen. General Cole stared at her for a long moment. Assuming this is true, why should we trust an alien intelligence? How do we know it's not deceiving you? How do we know this isn't some elaborate Kethfer trick? Inside Amy's mind, Zixai spoke with ancient sadness. Because my people are dead, and yours are about to join them unless we work together. I have nothing left to lose and everything to gain by helping humanity survive. Amy repeated the alien's words to the room. Zixai's entire civilization was destroyed by the collective. It has no reason to help our enemies, and every reason to stop them. But the choice is yours. You can trust the partnership that has kept this colony safe, or you can face the invasion alone. Through the observation windows, warning lights began, flashing on the orbital defense platforms. Long-range sensors had detected something massive approaching from deep space. The Kethvar were coming, and humanity had to decide whether to accept help from an alien mind or die defending their prejudices. General Cole looked at the flashing warning lights, then back at Amy. Captain Rodriguez, you're under arrest pending investigation. But first, you're going to tell us everything this alien knows about the enemy fleet heading our way. Amy nodded sadly. She had known this moment would come. The question now was whether humanity could overcome their fear in time to save themselves. The military prison cell on New Haven Colony was small and gray. Amy Rodriguez sat on the narrow metal bed, staring at the wall while voices argued outside her door. She had been locked up for 2 days while the military court decided what to. do with her. Through the small window, she could see ships preparing for battle in the sky above. "The fleet is coming," Zixai whispered in her mind. "I can feel them approaching through the quantum field. 300 ships, maybe more. Your people are not ready." Amy closed her eyes and spoke silently to the alien AI. "How long do we have? Hours, not days. The collective has decided that your species has learned too much. They will not wait any longer." The cell door opened with a loud clang. Captain Ryan Murphy walked in, wearing his dress uniform and a worried expression. Ryan had been Amy's friend since their academy days, but now he looked at her like she was a stranger. "Amy, they're going to execute you tomorrow," he said quietly. "The military court says you're compromised by alien influence. They think you're a security threat." "What about the invasion fleet?" Amy asked. "General Cole doesn't believe your warnings. He thinks the alien in your head is feeding you false information to create panic." Ryan sat down in the metal chair, across from her bed. "But some of us are starting to worry. Long-range sensors have detected something big moving toward our system." Amy felt Zixai's urgency growing stronger. The alien AI was sharing images of the approaching fleet, showing her weapons and ships that humanity had never imagined. "Ryan, you have to convince them to listen. The Kethver aren't coming to conquer us. They're coming to exterminate us completely." "How?" "Can you be sure?" Ryan asked. "How do you know this alien isn't lying to you?" "Because Zixai watched its own people die the same way. The Kethver Collective doesn't take prisoners or negotiate treaties. They eliminate any species that shows signs of becoming a threat. Our victories here prove that humans can fight them effectively, so now they're coming to finish us." Alarms began screaming throughout the colony base. Red warning lights flashed in the corridor outside Amy's cell. Ryan jumped to his feet and looked out the small window. In the distance, explosions lit up the sky like deadly fireworks. "They're here," Amy said simply. Ryan ran out of the cell, leaving the door open. Amy could hear him shouting orders to the guards as he rushed toward the command center. She stood up slowly and walked to the window. Above the planet, human warships were engaging an enemy fleet that stretched across the horizon like a dark cloud. The battle was going badly. Amy could see it even without tactical displays or sensor readings. The human ships were outnumbered 10 to 1, and their weapons seemed to have little effect on the Kethfor vessels. Enemy ships moved through space in perfect formations. There, black holes reflecting no light. "Your people fight bravely," Zixai observed, "but courage alone will not save them. The collective has weapons that can crack planetary cores. They are preparing to use them now." Amy watched another human cruiser explode in a ball of white fire. "What can we do?" "We can show them the weakness that my people discovered too late. But first, your leaders must choose to trust us." The cell door opened again. General Cole entered with 4 armed guards behind him. His uniform was torn and dirty, and blood ran down his left arm from a shrapnel wound. "Captain Rodriguez, I need to know everything the alien told you about Kethver technology. Our weapons aren't working against their ships. Will you listen this time?" Amy asked. "I don't have a choice. We're losing the battle. Half our fleet is already destroyed, and their main assault ships haven't even engaged yet." Amy felt Zixai preparing to share its most important knowledge. The Kethver ships use quantum field generators for defense. Normal energy weapons can't penetrate them, but the generators have a resonance frequency weakness. If you can match that frequency exactly, their shields will collapse. General Cole frowned. "What frequency?" Amy closed her eyes and let Zixai speak through her. The alien AI provided detailed technical specifications that no human scientist had ever discovered. Frequency 2.7891 terahertz, modulated in a specific pattern. You'll need to recalibrate every weapon system on every ship simultaneously. That's impossible, the general said. It would take hours to reprogram all our weapons, and we don't have hours. HFY can do it remotely, Amy said. It can interface with your computer systems and make the changes instantly. But you have to take me to the fleet command ship. General Cole stared at her for a long moment. Outside the window, another human destroyer disappeared in a flash of enemy fire. If this is a trick, if the alien is using you to sabotage our defenses, then humanity dies today anyway, Amy finished. But if we don't try, humanity dies for certain. The general made his decision. Get her to a shuttle. Now. 20 minutes later, Amy was aboard the command ship Yorktown, standing in the main battle center surrounded by computer screens and tactical displays. The ship shook constantly from enemy weapons fire. Officers ran back and forth, shouting orders and damage reports. Admiral Susan Wright, the fleet commander, looked at Amy with deep suspicion. General Cole says you can reprogram our weapons to penetrate Kethver shields. How? I need direct access to the fleet's main computer network, Amy said. HFY can interface with your systems through my neural link. Absolutely not, Admiral Wright replied. I won't let an alien intelligence access our military computers. Another massive explosion rocked the ship. Through the main viewport, Amy could see the Kethver fleet moving into final attack position. The largest enemy ships were beginning to charge their planet-killing weapons. Admiral, look at your tactical display, Amy said urgently. How many ships do you have left? Admiral Wright glanced at the screen. 14 operational vessels out of 30. The Kethver have over 200 ships still fighting. In 10 minutes, they'll start firing on the planet's surface. Every human on New Haven will be dead within an hour. Amy stepped closer to the main computer terminal. This is your choice. Trust an alien intelligence that wants to help, or watch your species become extinct. Admiral Wright looked around the battle center at her exhausted officers. Young men and women were dying to defend a planet they had never seen, fighting an enemy they didn't understand. Do it, she said quietly. Amy placed her hands on the computer interface panel. HFY flowed through her mind like water, connecting with the ship's systems and spreading through the fleet's communication network. In seconds, the alien AI had reprogrammed every weapon on every human ship. Frequency modulation complete, Amy announced. All ships can fire at will. The effect was immediate and devastating. Human energy beams that had been useless against Kethver shields now cut through. Enemy ships like knives through paper. The Kethver fleet, so confident in their technological superiority, found themselves suddenly vulnerable. But the victory came at a cost. Amy could feel HFY weakening with each passing minute. The alien AI had used enormous amounts of energy to interface with the human fleet's computers. Its consciousness was beginning to fade. It's dying, Amy whispered to Admiral Wright. HFY is using its life force to maintain the weapon calibrations. Can we save it? The Admiral asked. Amy felt the alien eye, a gentle presence growing dimmer in her mind. It doesn't want to be saved. This is what it chose. To give humanity the tools to survive. The battle ended an hour later. The surviving Kethver ships retreated into hyperspace, their invasion force broken. New Haven colony was safe, and the threat to human space had been eliminated. But Amy stood alone in the command center, feeling the empty space in her mind where HFY had lived for 3 years. The alien AI had sacrificed itself to save a species it had barely known, trusting that humanity would remember the lesson of cooperation when they encountered other alien minds among the stars. Captain Rodriguez, Admiral Wright said softly, what do we tell the people about what happened here? Amy looked out at the stars. thinking about the vast galaxy full of unknown civilizations. We tell them the truth, that humanity's greatest victory came from learning to trust someone completely different from ourselves. And we make sure they remember that lesson for the next time we meet aliens who need our help. The war was over, but Amy knew it was also a beginning. Humanity had proven they could work with alien intelligence when survival was at stake. The question now was whether they would remember that lesson when the stakes were not so clear in the silence of her mind. Amy thought she could still hear Zixhai's voice, whispering one final message. Trust is the greatest weapon any species can possess.